This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, thank you, Shalom Torah Centers. Thank you for coming. It's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem for every person to walk into this building today. The only day that us Americans have off is Sunday, and to utilize it for Torah and Yirat Shamayim is a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. One of the most underestimated gifts that Hashem gave us is the power of doing a mitzvah and the power of learning Torah. So many mitzvahs are done weekly. For example, keeping Shabbat, praying, Birkat HaMazon. We do it so often that a person forgets the value. When a person does something so often, even though it could be very expensive and valuable, you forget to appreciate it. So every mitzvah a person does, every moment of Torah, of Yirat Shamayim, coming into this building, even though you're supposed to be off, coming to learn Torah, I have no question about it. It makes an effect in this world, in the next world, and Hashem is watching every one of our moves. And don't forget, Hashem never forgets. We forget the mitzvot that we do. Can you count how many times you said Kiddush your whole life? Can you count how many times you made a beracha before you drink water? A blessing before you drink water? Can you count how many times a person kept Shabbat or gave tzedakah? How many times we're about to speak chas v'shalom negative about a friend, Lashon Hara, but we held ourselves back? We forget everything, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forget. A person is going to get to Shamayim after 120, and Hashem's going to tell him, remember on February 12th, 1987, you did this mitzvah in Jerusalem, or you did this mitzvah in New York. Hashem, I don't even know what you're talking about, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forget. So this moment, learning Torah on Sunday is a tremendous zchut, and Bezrat Hashem, the merit from the Torah in this building today in Shalom Torah Center should be used to give health to all the soldiers in Eretz Yisrael, and should free all the hostages alive and healthy at 120 Shana. So really I prepared something else, but as I drove here, I spoke to a famous rabbi in Eretz Yisrael. His name is Rabbi Chaim Zaid. And for those who have YouTube, try to follow Rabbi Chaim Zaid. Put it in. He has the best stories, if you understand Hebrew. He doesn't speak English, but he has the best stories. And I'm always shocked. The stories that he said over that happens to him, it's as if he's like the new Baba Sali with all the stories that he has. Tremendously seen, tremendous miracles. So I'll share with you two stories today that he told me. Really, one of the stories I already said over a month and a half ago, right after the war, but today there's a continuation to that story. Around a month and a half ago, Rabbi Chaim Zaid, right after October 7th, right after Simchat Torah, after that horrible day, he gets a phone call from a girl that's single, an older girl. She's a yatomah, she's an orphan. And she tells the rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Zaid, she calls him up, she says, Rabbi, I want to help out in the war. I want to do something. I'm not a soldier in the army, I'm not in the IDF. I'm here in seminar in Bnei Brak, but I'm a Jew, and every Jew wants to take part of the war to help at Kadishan. He tells her, what can you do already? Pray, daven to Hashem. So she says, no, I want to donate. I have in my savings, in my piggy bank as they call it, 6,000 shkalim. 6,000 shkalim, that's all I have. And I want to give it towards the war. What do you think I should use it for? So the rabbi told, listen, I heard, this is a month and a half ago, but the rabbi told her, I heard that many soldiers want to start putting on tzitzit. Person puts on tzitzit, every moment is a mitzvah, and it's a mitzvah, mina Torah. Can you imagine how cheap it is to wear tzitzit for $20? And how much value you're getting a mitzvah every single second? They said that Gaol Mavina, one of the greatest rabbis we ever had, before he passed away, and he learned all day, literally all day, most of his life. Since he was 6 years old, they say he knew already a lot of Torah. At the last moment before he passed away, he was holding on to pairs of tzitzit, and he was crying in tears. And they asked him, Rabbi, why are you crying? So he says, once I pass away, I'm not going to have the opportunity to grab so much mitzvot. I'll forget the mic. As long as they're listening. Sorry, Torah, anytime. He says, once I leave this world, I'm not going to have the opportunity and the chance to grab as much mitzvot, as much gold coins like I could in this world. Because once a person goes to Olam Haba, there's no more grabbing mitzvot. Only once a person is alive does he have the chance to learn Torah and do mitzvot. You know, the Gemara tells us, Kol shetarach be'erev Shabbat, whoever works on Erev Shabbat, whoever prepares for Shabbat, he cooks, he has a meal, yochal be'Shabbat, ki eat in Shabbat. Because in Shabbat a person can cook. But a person who's not busy cooking before Shabbat. Comes Shabbat, he has nothing to eat because you can't make yourself food on Shabbat. Says the Gemara, so to this world or the next world. Whoever works in this world to prepare himself for the next world, whoever works with Torah and mitzvot to grab more mitzvot and more Torah while he's alive, not wasting their time, they're going to have a meal in the next world. They're actually going to have a house in the next world. In this world, if a person wants to build a house, he goes to Home Depot, he goes to Lowe's, he buys himself some wood, he has a construction company. In the next world, Home Depot is not going to help, neither is Lowe's, neither is construction company. Money is not going to help. The only thing is going to help is how much a person utilizes his time in this world to do chesed, to do mitzvot, to keep Shabbat, to learn Torah, to help out other Jews, to give tzedakot, to daven to Hashem. That is the construction to build a person's next world in Olam Haba. Nothing else is going to help. Only Torah and mitzvot that a person grabs in this world. How did I get there? Who knows how I got there? Rabbi Zaid, thank you. So it says Chaim Zaid, this girl called him up and she says, I want to donate 6,000 shekel. The rabbi told her, I heard that the idea of soldiers are missing tzitziot. Let's buy them, let's try to sponsor President Tzitziot. Okay. She gave him the 6,000 shekalim. He was able to purchase 127 pairs of tzitzit. That was his number he told me, 127 pairs. He has the box of tzitziot. He tells the girl, okay, I have the box at home. Now, come take it. He tells this girl that's an orphan. She tells him, Rabbi, what do you want me to do with the tzitziot? You want me to go give the soldiers tzitziot? It's not sanua. First of all, it's not modest. And I'm not going to the south, to Gaza. He tells her, what do you want me to do? Because I'm the rabbi, that means I have to kill myself, I have to go all the way to the south and put myself in danger. This is right after October 7th. She tells him, Ata tzaddik, you're the tzaddik, it's your job. That's what she told him. This girl's a strong girl. Okay. The rabbi was too scared to go, so he has his rabbi in the area, and the rabbi told him to go to the south, mitzvah gedolah, to help the soldiers. It's a big mitzvah of chesed, you're taking part of the war. He calls up his friend, this Rabbi Chaim Zaid, calls up his friend who works in the government, and he tells him, listen, I got to get to the south. Right now, this is when they still didn't catch all the terrorists. This is right after October 7th. It took him a couple of days to make sure there's no terrorists in the area. It took a while. So he called up his friend, and he told him, I got to get to the south, but I can't just drive in my car to the south. It's extremely dangerous. His friend told him, don't worry, I'm going to hook you up. Give me a few minutes. A few minutes later, he calls him up, Chaim Zaid, tells him, Rabbi, I'm going to have a katzin shel tzahal, which means one of the generals in the army, like a smaller position general, a katzin from the army, from the IDF, and he's going to come with a bulletproof army truck of the IDF to Bnei Brak and pick you up. Okay. Then we set up a date, the day, the IDF, the katzin, the general comes. His first name was Shaul of this katzin, but he doesn't want to advertise his last name. So the general of the IDF comes to Bnei Brak, to the rabbi's house, VIP, picks him up. They drive all the way to the south. As they drive to the south, closer and closer to the Gaza border, the dome over there, they stop at an intersection that has a massive sign in Hebrew, En Knisa, you cannot go past this, and they had the cement barricades on the road, you can't drive. Why? Because that whole area is Makom Sakana, is a dangerous place. As they're about to leave the car, the rabbi, Chaim Zaid, with the katzin, with his general from the IDF, suddenly they hear sirens, so the katzin told them, go to the close the door. They stayed in the car. What happened? They were announcing that there's a loose terrorist in that area near the intersection. What happened was they caught 5 terrorists. 4 of them are still held by the IDF. 1 was able to run away. Echad barach, echad me'aravim barchu. And he's somewhere in the area, so nobody leave the car. He said he was in the car for an hour and a half. Can you imagine? An hour and a half he was in the car until they got to Ora'ah, the rule, until they announced that you're able to leave the car. And he said that while he was inside the car, interesting concept, there were many, many loose dogs sniffing the area. He said he saw tons of dogs all over the place. And eventually, I guess that was a sign that there's no terrorists in the area, because we know those dogs sniff blood. And if they couldn't find anyone, that means you can assume the terrorist is not there. So after an hour and a half, he left the car. He goes to the bagage, as in Hebrew, to the back of the car. He takes it to tzitziot, and he gives it to the soldiers by the corner. He has 1 pair of tzitzit left. There was a soldier a few feet away from him that raised up his hand and he said, Harav, Harav, meaning he was trying to tell the rabbi, I also want a pair of tzitzit. So the rabbi told me that he threw the tzitzit. He said it was such a horrible throw. It was way off, but he threw the tzitzit, and the tzitzit landed ala sela, on a massive rock. As the tzitzit that was loose lands on the sela, Suddenly, from the bottom of the cellar pops up the terrorist, Yimach Shemo v'zicho, the idea of screaming, Mechabel, Mechabel, terrorist, terrorist. And he said, Esh, Esh, fire, fire. Boom, boom, and they killed the terrorist on the spot. Do you hear this? As soon as the tzitzit fell on the cellar, that terrorist that was running where they were looking for was right there. I guess he felt the tzitzit in his ears or something. I guess it was tickling him. So he got up, boom, and they killed him on the spot. That means that one pair of tzitzit saved who knows how many IDF soldiers, who knows how many Jews that saved just one pair of tzitzit. Now this is a tremendous story that he publicized a month and a half ago. And then I had the zechut, because he speaks in Hebrew, I had the zechut to say over that story on Torah Anytime in English. Now listen to what he tells me this morning. This is unbelievable. I speak to him, he tells me, Yaakov Rahimi, you got to hear what happened from your story that you said in English that happened to me. I get a call from somebody from Miami Beach, Florida. He calls me up and he tells me, Rabbi, I heard your story with the tzitzit. In English, I heard the story. And it gave me tremendous chizuk. But more than that, tell that girl that's an orphan, tell her I'm her new father. When she gets married, I'm paying for her wedding, and I'm going to get her a free apartment in Beit Vegan in Yerushalayim. That's a lot of money. I wish I got that. Beit Vegan in Yerushalayim for free. The rabbi tells her, oh, okay. He tells this guy, Bezat Hashem, as soon as she gets engaged. This girl, the rabbi told me, right now was engaged to Yeshiva Bacha, that his parents, unfortunately, were murdered by terrorists many years ago. And they're about to get married. And this guy is sponsoring her wedding, and he's flying in there, and he's getting her an apartment. But that's a tremendous story. This girl, she gave 6,000 shekels. She was Mosel Nefesh. She did her chelek in what she could do. Although it was hard for her, but she did her part with a full heart. That's all she had in her savings. And she's a yitomah, she's an orphan. But she said, this, how it can help out in the war, this is the mitzvah that I can do. She did it belev shalem, she was Mosel Nefesh. And those paratzitziot saved who knows how many IDF soldiers over there by the war, because this tzitzit landed on the terrorists. And two, Baruch Hashem, she got engaged from this. She got married from this. As Israelis love to say, my parents always say, Elokim Gadol. Israelis always say that. You know, Kadosh Baruch Hu, the stories that are coming in, it's unbelievable how Hashem exists 24/7 in our lives. Hashem is really here. And we have the zechut, we have the opportunity to serve Him daily. Not only once a week, sometimes a person goes on vacation, which is a lot of fun. You go once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year. And even if you go, you can't stay in the hotel for so long, and you can't rent a nice car for so long. And how long can you eat steak in a restaurant, even if it's $300? Everything has a limit. But to serve Hashem, which is the funnest thing and the most valuable thing, we have a zechut to do it every single moment while we're alive. The funnest thing is happening 24/7 to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu. What an honor it is to be a Jew and to be able to serve Hashem. The greatest gift Hashem gave us is that He gave us a Jewish neshama, is that He gave us a Jewish soul in order to serve Him 24/7. And then He gave us mitzvot, He gave us tremendous opportunities to get close to Him in this world. Torah, Shabbat, tefillin, prayer, keeping kosher. And then we build our olam haba. As much as enjoyable this world is, the Gemara tells us, take all the most, remind me to go back to the second story, please, before I forget, if you don't mind. Take all the enjoyments in this world, all the enjoyments of this world, put it into one moment. Rega echad, it is still not worth the enjoyment in the next world, in olam haba. If the Kadosh Baruch Hu created all the fun stuff in the world is telling us, trust me, the next world is even fun, even more enjoyable, you can trust Hashem when He says it. Many years ago when I was younger, I had to fundraise for a certain type of cause. So I had a meeting with a very special person. He is a Syrian Jew from Brooklyn. He owns Century 21 department stores. I'm not sure if it exists in New Jersey, but I know they have it in the city, in Manhattan. It was actually right next to the Twin Towers by 9/11, and then they rebuilt it. So the owner of Century 21 department stores is a religious Orthodox Jew who lives in Brooklyn, who has his own shul, who donates tremendous amount of money to tzedakah, and he finished the whole shas more than once, the whole town more than once, the owner of Century 21. So one time I had a meeting with him to fundraise for something, and I was around 17 or 18 years old. I was around 17, 18 years old. I was a Lakewood boy. I grew up in Lakewood, right next door over here. By the way, I had a few friends who went to Shalom Torah centers. I forgot their names. I know it might sound rude, but I already forgot the names. But I remember Shalom Torah Centers back in the day. I had a few friends that came here, and then for high school, they went to Stearns. I think Stearns used to be in the area of the high school, but it closed down. So basically, being a Lakewood boy, and then you never leave Lakewood, all you see is white shirt, black pants. And then I had a meeting in Manhattan with this owner of Century 21. I took the bus. I took the New Jersey Transit bus. Back then it was only, I think, $14. It was nothing, $14, $15. I took the bus. I went to the Manhattan Grand Station over there. Then I ended up in Century 21. I walk in there, and there's two massive bodyguards by the front. And they saw that I was lost. I really was lost. There's no question. Especially right when I walked in, it was the makeup section. I was totally like, what is going on? I put my head down right away. So they started asking me, like, can we help you? Like, who are you looking for? And I told them, I'm here to meet, his first name is Raymond, I'm here to meet the Century 21, the CEO. They looked like I was crazy, like, what? You here to meet the CEO? I was like, I'm not lying to you. I have a meeting with them at 12 o'clock. So give me your ID. I didn't have my license then. The only ID I had was the yeshiva ID, because legally you got to have the ID. So I showed them my ID. I said my name in it. And then they had like a walkie-talkie. They verified I wasn't lying. And then a different person comes down and he tells me, come with me. We go into this elevator. And then there's elevators, and then there's golden elevators. This elevator was it's called the golden elevator. It's the elevator that goes to the floor where the CEO is. In order to get inside the golden elevator, you gotta have a special card. Not everybody has the card. So I had to wait by the elevator for this special person with the card to swipe, to take me in, to go to the floor. Finally, I get to the floor of the owner of Century 21. I come in. As I'm talking to him, very nice person, as I'm talking to him, one of the employees walks in, that works for him, and he tells them, what do you think is, I want to get a gift for my wife, what do you think is the best company shoes for the best price, this and this design for my wife? So on the spot, being the owner of Century 21 for over 20 years, he started rattling off this department, that department, this should be this price, this is on sale. He kept on going and going. I thought to myself, imagine me, little 17-year-old from Lakewood who knows nothing about business, nothing about Century 21. Imagine I tell him, hello, hold up. Raymond, I think you're making a mistake. I think you should get this shoe with this company. How unintelligent or foolish would it be for me to argue with the owner of Century 21 that's there for 20 years? In this world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, God, was here, Haya, Hoveh v'hiyeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was here from the beginning, Abotai. Hashem is here as we speak and is going to be forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. He knows what's right and what's wrong in this world because He created this world. And He told us clearly, a person who gets close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a person that utilizes Torah and mitzvot, another mitzvah, a person who does the right thing is the happiest person in the world, and he's doing the right thing. So how can it be that a person will make a decision and get up and tell God, wait a minute. No. I think there's a different fun in this world. I think there's a different right in this world. If Hashem, who created the world, knows what He's doing, and He created all the most enjoyable stuff, and He's telling you the most enjoyable thing is learning Torah, getting close to Hashem, and reaching Olam Haba, who would argue with his own creator? Who would argue? Now, how did I get to this? I planned a whole different speech. How did I get to this?
Your other story.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, here comes all the story. This is unbelievable. Chaim Z told to me today. He said that in Sidrot, one of the cities in the south, some people passed away, many actually, but they were planning, the Yimach Shemam Zecha were planning to do a lot more, and they did not succeed, Baruch Hashem, but unfortunately, they did kill many lives. In one of the shuls, after the war, totally survived the attack, they saw in their security cameras the Hamas terrorists, Yimach Shemam, coming closer and closer to the shul, and they were in a circle, like having a conversation. One terrorist goes closer and closer to the shul, and he puts his ear by the wall of the shul trying to hear something. He goes back to the group, and a different guy comes and tries to listen in. Eventually they left. What ended up happening? At that moment, they looked at the security camera. At that moment where the terrorists put their ears by the door of the shul, that specific minute, they were in the middle of Amidah in Shmona Esrei B'Shachit. They were in the middle of Shmona Esrei. And because that shul is so careful that no one speaks in shul, nobody speaks minot tefillah, it was pitch quiet in there, not even a pin drop on the floor. It looks like the terrorists were trying to see, is there people? I mean, we're not wasting our time. Is there people there? Is there no people there? They thought nobody's in there. It was so quiet, they just left the place. This is an unbelievable story. And then he told me another story, and then we're going to end up with that story. Chaim Z told me this is a scary one. Okay, ready for this one, guys? In our yeshiva, they used to tell us, put on your seatbelt for unbelievable stories. It happens to be, while I heard the story, my seatbelt was actually on. I told him that this time I actually had my seatbelt on because I was driving here. He said that this katzin that he drove, this idea of soldier that drove him to the south, told him a tremendous story that happened to him. After October 7th, part of the jobs that this general has is to interrogate the captured Hamas terrorists, Yimach Shemam V'zicham. And he tells him, Kvod Harav, I want you to tell me a pshat to what I'm about to tell you, what the terrorists told me. One of the Hamas terrorists that they were interrogating, his job was, he was in charge of a group of 10 Hamas soldiers. They went out with groups, and there was a group leader in charge of 10 Hamas terrorists, and that's how they unfortunately did that attacks. So this specific terrorist was in charge of 10 other terrorists. His job was to attack Yeshivas Tifrach. For those who know Israel, one of the biggest yeshivot that we have, close to 1,000 people, is Yeshivat Tifrach, that's in the south, right near Gaza. His job was to go inside by Simchat Torah that day, October 7th, to go inside and to attack specifically the yeshiva. But he didn't. And they see in this, Baruch Hashem, and they see in the security cameras that he was by the gate to go inside, I guess you call it Yeshuv or Kibbutz, Tifrach, where the yeshiva is. And you see him that he's by the gate and he's looking around for a few minutes. And then he turns to his other terrorists and he tells them in Arabic. He told me the words in Arabic, but I told you, I know Hebrew, English, I don't know Arabic. Okay, but he told them in Arabic, Ufu mikan, like get out of here, there's no point. And then they left, and unfortunately did all the terrorists like Yimach Shema V'zicham, but he felt he didn't want to waste his time. So the Katzin asked the terrorist Yimach Shema. He asked him, why didn't you go in? What made you stop? Why did you tell your terrorist friends, Yimach Shema, not to go in there? And they found, by the way, inside his bag, this terrorist, something so scary. They found that he had the schedule, the zmanim of Yeshivas Tifrach and Simchat Torah. The terrorist in his bag knew what time Shachrit is that day, what time they're having Akafot, what time Musaf, the Seudah with the Yeshiva, and Mincha. This terrorist got a hold of the zmanim of Simchat Torah. He knew when the Yeshiva Bachim are going to be packed inside the Bet Midrash, and he had a picture of the front entrance of the building and the other back entrance of the building, and the plan was to designate 5 soldiers to each entrance. And his job was, as the general, to make sure after they're done shooting everyone, your job is to do chazara and make sure everyone is dead. That's what they said in his piece of paper, what his job is. Yimach Shema V'zicho. So the Katzin asked him, why didn't you go and what stopped you? And he told him something very scary. He told them that while he was by the gate, he saw Yeshivas Tifrach, but he saw a lot of esh. He saw tons of pillars of fire coming out of the building. So he told himself, why should I waste my time? We don't have that much time till the IDF comes, till the enemy, as he called it, come. I have to go do other things. Why should I waste my time? It looks like somebody else already took care of them. He said that he saw esh and esh and esh coming out of the building. This is what the Ari Machshemot told the Katzin. So the Katzin asked the Rabbi Chaim Zaid, what in the world does that mean? A terrorist told me this. What in the world does that even mean, that he saw esh and esh coming out of the building? And Rabbi Chaim Zaid, when he told me this, he was like screaming over the phone. He was saying, this is unbelievable. We always learn about open miracles in the Gemara, in times of Chazal, Chanukah, and we learn about it. We had from this war, there are so many stories that are coming in. There are so many open miracles that happen. At the same time, there were tremendous tragedies. And it's going to take us years and years. We're going to cry and cry and cry and cry and cry for many, 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 many years ahead of the tragedy that happened. It's not even over yet. But once the war is going to be over, how long we're going to cry is going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be endless. I remember when I was a little kid, my grandparents told me about Melchemet Yom Kippurim, the Yom Kippur War. He always spoke about it, my grandfather, how he lost his friend, another friend, because he was part of the battle. And he told me all the details. They never stopped speaking about Melchemet Sheshet Hayamim, the 6-day war, Melchemet Yom Kippurim. This war that happened on October 7th, it's going to be, unfortunately, we're going to tell it to our grandchildren, our children, our grandchildren. It's going to take a long time for us to stop crying about this war. Many tragedies happen. But at the same time, the amount of open miracles that we see, how Hashem handles everything. Now we know why in Al Nisim we say Ve'ala Milchamot. We think Hashem for the wars, al milchamot. Why do we praise Hashem for wars? Why do we praise Hashem that He's in charge of the milchamot, that He's in charge of wars? The answer is because through war, many times we see the hand of Hashem even more open. Many times you see how Hashem dictates and everything. Hashem is handling every single step that a person is taking. How many soldiers are saying over tremendous story? I have a cousin that's in Gaza as we speak, and he tells me stories all the time. And he's not a religious Jew, but he tells me tremendous stories of emunah and bitachon. How many Jews got together from the tragedy on October 7th to get closer and closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu? The spiritual movement is unbelievable. You know, we have an organization, remember to go back to the story, we have an organization called backtosini.com. This organization we started around 2 years ago after noticing that as much as, you know, you could give speeches and go around and speak, at the end of the day, if you want to touch as many Jews as possible to start learning Torah, you have to get online. You have to get on social media. Social media is a horrible place, but at the same time, it's an unbelievable gift that Hashem gave us in this generation to reach Jews across the world. So we started this organization called backtosini.com. Everything is sponsored, Baruch Hashem. People are sponsoring everything. And we have a social media company where on Instagram, on all the stuff, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all these places where we post videos and videos of different rabbis. And then whoever is part of the accounts, we ask them, do you want to learn Torah on the phone with a mentor? Whoever says yes, we take their phone number, their name, their email address, and then we send it to Torah mates, to partners of Torah. So since we started 2 years ago on social media, we have over 1,000 people, Baruch Hashem, just from Instagram alone, that applied yes from across the country and Europe, and now Baruch Hashem, the learning with Torah mates and partners of Torah. Since the war started from October 7th, I got over 500 requests. What took me 2 years to get in from social media after the war, everybody is looking for truth. Everybody is looking for meaning, for pshat, for a tam, for a reason, and what's going on. The Jews are so hungry for ruchniut. You know, Moshe Rabbeinu, before we started the Geulah of Yetziat Mitzrayim, what was the siman? What was the symbol of the redemption right before Mitzrayim? Moshe Rabbeinu was walking in the Midbar, and as he was walking, he saw the burning bush. Everybody remembers the period of the Torah where the stem was bo'er be'esh, but it wasn't actually burning. The wood was le'ukar, wasn't actually burning to pieces, to ashes. So Moshe Rabbeinu was passing by, and he sees a burning bush, but the bush is not burning. It's not burnt to crisp. It's still alive. It's still green. So after Moshe Rabbeinu turns his neck, he gets closer, and that's when Hashem came to him and spoke to him, and he told him, you're basically Mashiach, you're going to redeem the Jewish people. Says the Sfarim HaKadoshim, the holy books. They ask, why is that the beginning of the redemption of the Jewish people from Egypt? What does it symbol? What does it show us? What is the message that Hashem tried giving the Jewish people by doing it and writing in the Torah? That right before Moshe Rabbeinu redeemed the Jews from Mitzrayim, and we went through so much pain in Mitzrayim, right before he redeemed us, this episode happened with the burning bush. So the holy books answer a tremendous lesson, and it's happening in our generation at this moment. The lesson is that no matter how many times Jews go through tragedies, no matter how many times we go through pain, tzarot and yisuim, no matter how many times there's fire around us 24/7, every single generation people are trying to destroy us. Esh, tragedies and fire. Inside of us, inside of every single Jew, you can never break. You can never break. So no matter how many fires around us, flames of tragedies, the Jew inside will never break. So Hashem wanted to show it to Moshe Rabbeinu. Right before he went to redeem the Jews out of Mitzrayim, the Jews at the time were holding the very low level of impurity. They weren't doing so well in spirituality. They were holding in the 49th lowest level of tumah, of impurity. So Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't sure, how can I redeem the Jewish people? They're almost lost. So Hashem gave him that sign, the Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to understand how Jews work. No matter how much fire is around the bush is not burning. No matter how much Jews can go low with sins or their surroundings, at the end of the day, inside of them, they're 100% Yehudim, and they're my children. You can never break a Jew. Go redeem the Jewish people. This is happening as we speak. What this war, what Hamas Yimach Shemam V'Zicham showed the world is that you can never ever break a Jew. So many requests. I have a friend in Indiana, Chabad rabbi, that I'm in touch with him on WhatsApp. He tells me the amount of people that requested to put on tefillin, they knock on his door in his campus in Chabad, and he said, you know how many Jews come to put on tefillin? He said he gave out so many hadlikat nerot candles for the girls that want to start lighting nerot Shabbat. He said the movement, the spiritual movement that's going on in the world after the war is tremendous. It brought all the Jews together. So Hamas wanted to break us, Yimach Shema v'zicham. The opposite happened. The achdut of the Jewish people coming together to do more Torah and more mitzvot is an unbelievable Kiddush Hashem. The amount of Shabbatot that I kept, I have a friend that's a rabbi in the city in Manhattan. And he told me more than a month ago. He told me the amount of people that are coming to pray Friday night in the synagogue feels like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim. Because usually Rosh Hashanah, all the Jews come in Yom Kippurim. So he says after the war happened, everybody's coming to shul. Everybody's proud to be Jewish. Everybody wants to serve Hashem. The achdut, the togetherness that happened between all the Jewish people from all the circles proves the symbol that Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu. No matter how much fire is trying to consume us, we will never break. The Jewish people are always loyal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we always know how to move forward and rebuild and get closer and closer to Hashem, no matter what happened in the past. So those two stories of Batay that I share with you should give tremendous chizuk. It gave me tremendous chizuk to see an open miracle of a flame coming out of the building. So Rabbi Chaim Za'id told him, you know what that flame is? Esh HaTorah. We know when a person learns Torah, he brings tremendous Kedusha in the world. You know when a person does one mitzvah, if we will have the right glasses to see the spiritual power that comes to the world with one mitzvah, we will never ever stop doing mitzvot. The problem is, and that's a challenge of life, for me also, the challenge is to really understand the real value in this world, and that is Torah and mitzvot. But the reality doesn't change. When we do a mitzvah, we bring bracha, we bring blessings to this world. We made the world a much better place. So it says Rabbi Chaim Za'id, the fire that this Arab Yimach Shemo saw at that time, they were praying Shachrit. At that time, the Yeshiva Bacham were dancing B'Simchat Torah. He saw flames of Esh Torah. You think that Torah is a joke? This is real. Shabbat is real, mitzvot is real, and that Esh kept away the Arab, not to Chas Shalom destroy Yeshiva Tifrach. Just like we say in Al Nisim, by Adlakat Nerot, by Yamim Ahem, Bazman Hazeh. Just like there were miracles back then by Chanukah, there are miracles in front of our face as we speak. The question is, does a person choose to look into it and grow from it, or does a person try to say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, so this and that? It shouldn't be so far-fetched for a person to believe such a story. If you know how much of an effect you make when you keep Shabbat, if you know how much power you brought to the world with one mitzvah, this story is not a chidush. Of course there's Esha Torah. Of course there's flames coming out of the building. I'm going to end off with one story, then we're done. Okay, I'll tell you one more story. I know I said the last time, but literally last story. This story was said over by a rabbi in Lakewood, but this happened a couple of years ago. What happened was he has a friend that collects money. He comes from Eretz Yisrael as a Rosh Yeshiva, and he has a permanent driver, an Israeli Jew, that's not religious yet, and he drives the rabbi around when he comes to America to fundraise for his yeshiva. What happened was before COVID, he used to come often. COVID, this rabbi had to take a break. He couldn't come into America, obviously. After COVID, he comes in, and he sees his friend, the Israeli driver, is wearing tzitzit, he has a kippah on. The rabbi told him, ma kara lecha? What happened? Ishtagata? Are you crazy? You became religious? What happened to you? He says, no, kvod harav, I'll tell you what happened to me. They get inside the car, and he tells them a tremendous story. This is unbelievable. He says, Rabbi, right after COVID, in one of the jobs and I had to drive people around, the car service, I got a call from somebody in North New York, by the mountains over there. A very, very wealthy person called me up, and he tells me, I have a specific job for you to drive me. I want you to take me inside Pennsylvania to a specific spot, but there's no houses in the area. It's driving inside a secret path in a forest in Pennsylvania, and he didn't tell me exactly the city in Pennsylvania. That he didn't publicize. But he told me specifically a forest in Pennsylvania where there's a secret path. Okay, he says, I didn't ask any questions. I went to pick up this guy from New York. He gets in the car, and he drives in the GPS. He said it was not on the Google Maps. He had to find out how to get there. They get to that forest of Pennsylvania, and he told him, I'm not going inside the forest. He told his customer, I'm going to drop you off over here. When you're done, I'll drive you back to New York. Okay. And the rabbi asked this driver, his friend, the Israeli Jew, he asked him, you didn't question your customer. What in the world am I driving you to a forest of Pennsylvania? Remember this guy is selling drugs. You get in trouble. Why didn't you ask him? So he told him, listen, ani lo mitasek. I'm not messing with customers. I'm not getting involved in his business. Okay, some people, like to live like that. So basically, he dropped him off. And he said he got on his iPad, on his iPhone, and he started watching Netflix. He started watching movies, sitting by the front seat. Suddenly, somebody knocks by the window, and he said he got scared. He rolls down the window. It's his customer. What happened? He tells them, drive far away. I need you to drive at least 10 minutes. The word was 10. At least 10 minutes out of here. Drive away. He said, okay. You figure maybe something happened. Maybe he got in trouble. He got very scared, and he drove 10 minutes out. Eventually, his customer calls him up and he says, come back, pick me up. I'm done my deal, whatever I need to do. Okay. He picks him up and he said, finally, I had the guts to ask him, to approach him. What in the world are you doing? I drove you, picked you up from New York, took you to the forest in Pennsylvania, dropped you off by the front. You come knocking and tell me to drive 10 minutes out. What are you dealing with? I don't want to get in trouble. What are you dealing with? So he told them, let me tell you something unbelievable that happened to me. This is what the guy told the Israeli Jew. He says, unfortunately, the guy was pointing to himself. Unfortunately, I have the machala. Unfortunately, I have cancer. Should ever happen to any person except Hamas terrorist. Unfortunately, I have cancer. And the doctors gave up on me totally. And the only way that I see myself redeeming myself from the cancer is to go to somebody who knows black magic. The concept of black magic exists even in the U.S., where a person uses koach hatumah. He takes the Shem Hashem. Okay, it's a dangerous thing, but he takes the name of God, of Hashem, and there's actually a guy like that in Brooklyn. He got in trouble at the end. He passed away, but whatever. Something called koach hatumah, where you take the Shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then you use it for bad things. It's full of tumah. He takes malachim. As we speak, there's malachim here. There's angels, and if you would know how to talk to them, they can actually accomplish things for you if you're holy enough. Or if a person is bad enough, he will use the other way out. He uses tumah, impurity, which means you got to grow long nails and do all these weird things. Then you bring tumah on yourself, and then you can talk to the bad malachim to help you out. It's a dangerous game, but there's a real world out there. You know, Moshe Sternbach says a baby in his mother's stomach. The baby thinks the whole world is his mother's stomach, but only 2 inches away from him, there's a whole world. In this world, the person thinks this world is, there's a wall, there's a chair, there's a stender, as if there's nothing else. No, there's a whole world right here if a person taps into the spirituality. So basically, this guy told the soldier, so I wanted a black magic guy, and as he was trying to help me out, he asked me, are you Jewish? I told him no. The black magic guy asked the guy, are you friends with any Jew? He says, no. So can I ask you how you got here? He's like, I took a cab. He's like, is your driver Jewish? He says, yes, he's actually a Jewish person. And the black magic guy told the guy, tell that Jew that he has to go at least a mile out. Tell him to get out of here. And he said that the guy was screaming. It was scary, the black magic guy. Who knows what these guys look like? It was a scary guy. And he tells him the Jew, his actual neshama, his soul, is stopping me from using my tum'ah, my koach of impurity, to accomplish what I want to accomplish with you. His neshama is like a pillar of light that's stopping me. Tell that Jew to move at least a mile out. He runs out and he knocked on the Israeli and told him, please move him out. The Israeli guy, when he heard this, after he drove back to New York, he thought to himself, Ribono shel olam, am I that valuable in your eyes, like Kadosh Baruch Hu? Am I that powerful that my neshama sitting in the car watching Netflix makes a difference in this guy's black magic garbage? Are you serious? Hashem, my neshama is that strong? And I don't even keep Shabbat. I don't even put on tefillin. Can you imagine how much Kedusha I will have if I did the mitzvot? I'm so holy as it is and so valuable. Can you imagine I would add mitzvot, how much Kedusha I will have? And then he was chozeh b'teshuvah. He became religious and he told us over to the rabbi. But this is a tremendous story. The lesson I took from the story is I have to start understanding how much value I bring to the world. Besides my neshama, the Jewish neshama. That's priceless. And we thank Hashem every day for it. But what about the mitzvot? How many times did I keep Shabbat in my life? I wasn't religious my whole life. But since I became religious from 6th grade, how many times did I keep Shabbat in my life? Do I really value every Shabbat? Do I walk out and say Shabbat after Havdalah? Nice! I just made 1,000,000 mitzvot this Shabbat. Do I walk out feeling like a millionaire? Or let's say I learned for an hour straight. Do I really appreciate what just happened? Or every time my lady lights that Dekat Nerot v'Shabbat, the candles for Shabbat. Can you imagine the Kedusha, the holiness at that moment, and when the women pray for their children and for their grandchildren and for their husbands? Can you imagine how much Kedusha holiness is at that moment? Or every time we cook for Shabbat, we drive the Chvot Shabbat, we go to do mitzvot. Or every time we learn with others, every time we're about to say Lashon Hara, and then we control ourselves, brings tremendous barakah to the world. The lesson from the story is value who you are and value the mitzvot that you already did your whole life. Today when you get home, take a notebook. I dare you to do it. Take a notebook and start trying to write down how many mitzvot you did the past 2 months. I'm not asking your whole life. The past 2 months. You're going to see how wealthy you are for mitzvot. How much value you brought to the world. And why Hashem gives you life. Hashem gave you a Jewish neshama to utilize. Utilize the fun. Get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And although we went through a horrible tragedy October 7th, at the same time the Kiddush Hashem is priceless. How Jews are getting together and doing more Torah and more mitzvot. Thank you so much for listening.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.